Good morning. We will pay attention to transactions in the subsidiary journals and ledger when the periodic inventory system is used. In the debtors journal, we see that we only have a sales column. We don't have a cost of sales column because in the periodic system we don't use cost of sales and we are not allowed to write in the inventory account during the year. At the end of the month, we will add all the amounts in the sales column and then we will have to do a double entry. So we will debit debtors control with 2,640 and we will credit sales with 2,640 and no entry will be recorded for the cost price. In the debtors allowances journal, we will also only have one column for debtors allowances and no column for cost of sales. At the end of the month, we will have to record a double entry again for the 333 and we will debit debtors allowances to reduce the income of the business because now these goods are not sold, and we will credit debtors control. In the creditors journal, it will look exactly the same as the creditors journal. In the periodic system, we only have a purchases column instead of an inventory column. So when we post these entries to the ledger, we will credit creditors control because we owe them more money. We will debit purchases to increase the expense, debit stationery to increase the expense, and debit equipment to increase the asset. If we add up the three amounts that we will record on the debit side of the ledger, it will equal the amount that we recorded on the credit side to indicate that we've completed a double entry, although the debit side was split into three different accounts. In the creditors allowances journal, it will be the same as perpetual except that we have a creditors allowances column in place of an inventory column because we're not allowed to use inventory. So creditors will be debited because we want to decrease our creditors. Creditors allowances will be credited to decrease the purchases. Stationery will be credited to decrease the expense. And if we add up the two figures on the debit side, it will equal the figure of 810 on the credit side. Issued a receipt for 400 to P Power, allowed 40 Rand discount. So we will have to record two double entries. The first double entry will indicate that we received money. So it means it must be recorded in the cash receipts journal, and we will reduce the account of power, and then we will also have to indicate that there was 40 Rand discount. In the cash receipts journal, we will indicate the receipt number as 54. The entry is on the 18th, P Power, and we will indicate that we received 400 Rand, so we put it in the till. So the analysis of receipts is like a till. At the end of the day, we take the money to the bank. We allow 10 Rand discount, so we will reduce the debtors with the 400 Rand and the 40 Rand, and we will decrease them with 440. On the 25th, we received a check for 1,440 as part payment of his account after 10% discount was allowed. So the next receipt number will be number 545. On the 25th, we will indicate that the amount received in the till was 1,440. At the end of the day, we transferred it to the bank. And then we have to go and do a calculation to determine what is the discount. Now remember, the amount received is 1,440. That is after 10% discount. So we didn't receive the total 100% of the debt. We only received 90%. If we received the total debt, we would receive 100%. We allowed 10% discount, so we actually received 90% of the debt. They gave us the amount received, so this 90% equals 1,440. If we want to calculate the discount, the percentage that we want, 10, divided by the percentage that we know, 90, times the amount will give us 160 Rand. So it's very important to determine whether they give you the total debt or whether they give you the amount received. So because the amount received was given, it means that the amount that was given is equal to 90% of the debt. In the cash receipts journal, we will show that the discount we calculated as 160. So we will reduce the account of the debtor with the money received 1,440 plus the discount 60, and his account will be reduced with 1,600. In the cash payments journal, we will indicate that check number 104 was given to Mint Stores. The amount on the check is 1,500. In addition to the 1,500, they allowed 300 Rand discount, so we will reduce the creditors with 1,800 Rand. Issued a check to Jet Stores in settlement of a debt after 20% discount was received. They don't give us the debt and they don't give us the amount received. So we will have to go and calculate what is the outstanding amount of Jet Stores before we can do this transaction. We bought goods from Jet Stores for 4,100 and we returned goods to Jet Stores for 630 Rand. If we deduct the two amounts from each other, we determine how much is the amount that we still owe them, and on that outstanding amount, we will work out the discount and the amount that must be paid. In Jet Stores, you can also look up what is the amount that we owe in his personal account instead of doing it in the journals. After we recorded the purchases and the credit note, the outstanding amount is 3,470. His total debt is 100%. The discount that we receive is 20%. We calculated the debt as 3,470. So if we want to know what is the discount, it's 20% of 3,470, and that will give me 694 Rand. We calculated the discount as 694. The total amount that we owe him is 3,470. So if we deduct the discount from the total amount, we determine the amount that will be issued as the check, 2,776. In the cash receipts journal, the bank will be debited because we receive money and assets increase on the debit side. The debtors control will be credited to decrease the debtors on the credit side. Discount allowed is the expense, so discount allowed will be debited because expenses increase on the debit side. And if we use the 1,840 on the debit side plus the 200 on the debit side, it will equal the 2,040 on the credit side to complete our double entry. In the cash payments journal, the bank will be credited because we take money out of the bank. Creditors decrease on the debit side. Discount received is an income. Income increases on the credit side. And if we add the amount on the credit side in the bank and the amount on the credit side of discount received, it will equal the debits in creditors control on the debit side. When the entries are posted to the ledger, debtors control is an asset and will increase on the debit side and decrease on the credit side. The goods sold to the debtors will be recorded on the debit side to increase the amount that they owe. When they return goods, we have to decrease the outstanding debt, so we will record it on the credit side. Bank and discount will decrease their debt on the credit side. It is very important to write bank and discount aloud, because this figure that we record on the credit side is not only in the bank account on the debit side or only on the discount aloud. You have to indicate with this words bank and discount that some of this 2040 will go to the bank account on the debit side and some of the amount will go to discount allowed on the debit side. Then we balance the account. Debtors is an asset, so the debit side will always be bigger. So I add up the debit side, subtract the amounts on the credit side to determine what is the difference between the debit and credit side, and that is my balance carried down that is written above the total. This balance will be brought down on the opposite side on the first day of the next month. Creditors control is a liability. Liabilities increase on the credit side and decrease on the debit side. Purchases will therefore be recorded on the credit side. We bought different things, so you will either write sundry accounts or sundry purchases. When we return goods to them, we want to reduce the debt of the creditor, so we will record it on the debit side. And the difference between the periodic and perpetual system here is that we have a creditor's allowance account in the periodic system, so this amount will go to the credit side of creditor's allowances account. We paid money to them and we will reduce their account on the debit side. This 5270 is divided between some of the money on the credit side of the bank and some of the money will go in discount received on the credit side. Creditors control is a liability, so we will first add up the credit side, then subtract the amounts on the debit side to work out what is the difference between the credit and debit side, and that will give us a balance of 570. So the difference between the biggest side and the smallest side is my balance carried down. And the first day of the next month, I will bring down the balance on the opposite side. If there's only amounts on one side of the account, then you don't add up or work out a balance. That is automatically your balance. In the bank account, you will indicate your total receipts on the debit side, or you can write sundry accounts. And on the credit side, you will show your total payments or sundry accounts. The amount on the credit side is bigger, so we will first fill in the amount on the total column. Then we will subtract the 1840 to determine what is the difference between the debit and credit side to determine what is my balance carry down. The first day of the next year, this balance will be brought down on the opposite side of the account. The posting will be done to all the other accounts. If you credit account, so that will be income, it will go on the credit side. And then the difference between perpetual and periodic is that we don't write in the inventory account So we have a purchases account, and whether we buy goods for cash or on credit, we will increase this expense on the debit side. We will also have a creditors allowances account in the periodic system, where we will decrease this purchases that we sold, and we decrease it on the credit side because we reduce our income with 790. So in the perpetual system, you will record the purchases and creditors allowances in your inventory account. You don't have a creditors allowances account in the perpetual system, but in the periodic system, you have a purchases and a creditors allowances account. When we post the entries from the journals to the debtors ledger, we will indicate that we issued an invoice, and you have to write the number of the invoice as well. This was posted from the debtors journal. Debtors is an asset. Assets increase on the debit side and decrease on the credit side. So when we sell, we increase it on the debit side, and that means the total amount outstanding is 900 Rand. If we issue a credit note to reduce the account, we will record the number of the credit note, post it from the debtors allowances journal. We have to reduce their debt now, so we will write it on the credit side. To calculate the balance, I will take 900 minus 243, and that will give me the new outstanding balance as 657. We sold goods again, invoice 93, posting from the debtors journal, increase the account on the debit side. Outstanding balance is 657 plus 990, and that will give me 1647. When we issue a receipt, we reduce the account. This will be done on the credit side of the account, and we will subtract 1647 minus 1440 gives me an outstanding balance of 207. We also allow discounts, so on the same receipt we will have an indication of the discount, and we will record both these entries in the cash receipts journal. The entry will be recorded on the credit side because you reduce the account. 207 minus 160 gives me the new balance of 47 Rand. In the creditors ledger, we will record the entries as we will do it in the general ledger. So a creditor is a liability. Liabilities increase on the credit side and decrease on the debit side. Invoice 863 was received, posted from the creditors journal. It increases the debt on the credit side, and this balance will now be 2550. We return goods, so credit note 40 was used to record the entry in the creditors allowances journal. It will decrease the debt on the debit side. The balance is 2550 minus 180, 2370. We paid money by check number 104, and we will record the discount and the payment on the debit side, 1,500 and 300. After the payment, we will work out the balance as 2370 minus 1,500 gives me 870, minus 300, and that is the outstanding balance of 570. We will prepare a trial balance to determine whether a debit entry was recorded for every credit entry. So if these totals are the same, it means that you did a debit and credit for every transaction. The debtors control will have a balance brought down on the debit side. So the side that the balance is brought down below the total, on that side you will write it in the trial balance. Creditors is a liability. So it means the balance was brought down in the ledger on the credit side, so the balance will be on the credit side. Equipment is an asset with a debit balance. Bank was an overdraft. The balance was brought down on the credit side, so the balance is recorded on the credit side. And then you will record all the other ledger accounts on the side that you recorded the entries. The same side you will record in the trial balance. So income will be on the credit side, and expenses will be on the debit side. So if we record the balances from the ledger, and we can look afterwards and see, is all the assets and all the expenses on the debit side. If they are on the credit side, you made a mistake. If I look at this trial balance, the capital plus all liabilities plus income must be on the credit side. If they're on the debit side, you made a mistake.